Here's a number to sit with. 1 hour. Not a semester, not a certificate program. 1 hour in a hotel conference room, and a group of nurse anesthesia faculty walked out with their belief in using AI for real academic work nearly doubled. The average score went from about 21.5 to almost 42, on a scale topping out at 50.
And it is not just that the average went up. The scores also pulled together. Before the workshop, people were all over the map. After, they clustered near the top. A bigger number and more agreement at the same time. That combination is what makes this worth talking about.
So that is where we are going today. This is a DNP scholarly project by Jason Duprat, a CRNA. He built a 1-hour hands-on AI workshop, ran it at a real conference, and measured whether it moved something called self-efficacy. We will walk through what he did, what the numbers say, and the tough questions a committee will throw at him. And I want the honest version, messy parts included. So let us start with why anyone should care. Why does faculty in AI matter enough to build a project around?
Because there's a workforce problem underneath it. Nurse anesthesia has a documented decades-long faculty shortage, driven largely by workload and burnout. One task force report showed roughly 15% annual turnover among program administrators over a 4-year stretch. People are leaving because the academic work is crushing.
And the pitch is that AI can take some of that load off.
Right. AI can genuinely cut the time you spend on routine academic tasks. But here's the catch, and it's the whole reason for the project. You cannot adopt a tool you were never trained to use. Hand a busy faculty member the most powerful AI in the world, and if they don't believe they can use it, it just sits there.
So the bottleneck is not the technology. It's the person's belief that they can work the technology.
Exactly. And that word, belief, is where the theory comes in. This whole project is built on Albert Bandura's work on self-efficacy, and the framework has 2 layers.
Okay, layer 1.
Layer 1 is the why. Bandura's core claim is that self-efficacy, your task-specific belief that you can do a thing, is one of the strongest predictors of whether you will adopt a new skill and stick with it. You cannot follow faculty around for a year, but you can measure the belief that predicts the behavior. That is why it is the outcome.
And layer 2.
Layer 2 is the how. Bandura also described 4 sources that actually raise self-efficacy, and Jason used those 4 as a build checklist for the workshop itself.
Give me the 4.
Mastery experiences, you doing the thing yourself. That was the hands-on practice. Vicarious experience, watching someone else. That was the live demonstrations. Verbal persuasion, encouragement and coaching, and physiological and affective states, basically your emotional temperature. He addressed that by naming the AI fears out loud to lower anxiety.
So the theory is not decoration. It designed the room.
That is the clean way to say it. The 4 sources were the design checklist. The core claim that self-efficacy predicts adoption is why it is the outcome. 2 layers, 1 framework.
Hold that thought, because I want to come back to whether self-efficacy is just a fancy word for confidence. Let us get concrete about the workshop itself first. What did an hour actually look like?
It was hands-on at the FANA Sand and Surf Symposium in Florida. 1 free tool, Google NotebookLM. He taught 5 specific skills. Write measurable course outcomes. Map those outcomes to the COA graduate standards. Map them to the AACN DNP essentials. Generate cited multiple-choice test questions from your own course content, and review test items for common flaws, like ambiguity or 2 right answers. Each skill was a live demo on a shared screen. Then attendees ran the prompts themselves.
5 skills. And I noticed he measured 5 things. That is not an accident.
It is one of the strongest parts of the design. The 5 skills he taught are word for word the 5 items on the survey. In research terms, that is construct alignment. He is not measuring some vague halo effect. He is measuring belief in the precise tasks he just coached.
But why these 5 and not others? I could imagine 100 things AI could help a professor with.
He did not pick them because they were convenient. He used the task force's own needs assessment. They had educators rank 5 domains of need from most urgent to least. The number 1 domain, by a wide margin, was academic. Course outcomes, test development, item writing, course content. It got 40 first-place votes. Number 2 was curriculum, the accreditation mapping work.
So he taught straight from the top of the list.
The top 2 domains, then a second filter, AI suitability. Generative AI is genuinely good at text tasks. The domains he skipped, like mentorship and work-life balance, ranked lower and are human problems a chatbot cannot fix anyway. So take the highest rated needs, keep only the ones AI can meet, and teach those.
That is a clean answer to why these tasks. All right, the moment of truth. What did the data show?
It is a two-part story. How far did scores move and how broadly across the tasks? The composite runs 0 to 50. The median went from 24 to 41.5. The mean went from about 21.5 to about 42. That is the nearly doubled headline, and it fits the mean almost exactly, a 94% jump.
And the tightening you mentioned at the top.
The standard deviation, which is just how spread out the scores are, dropped from about 17 to about 8. Before, wide scatter. After, everyone bunched near the top. Agreement, not noise. On part 2, every one of the 5 tasks rose by roughly 4 points on its 0 to 10 scale. Broad, not one lucky item carrying it. The biggest jump was the AACN mapping task, and the highest final score was writing multiple choice questions.
Okay, so it sounds like a slam dunk, but you promised the honest version.
Here it is. The primary statistical test came back at p equals 0.057, and the line researchers care about is 0.05, so he missed the cutoff for statistical significance. By a hair, but he missed it.
Explain the p-value like I am a normal person.
A p-value answers one question. If the workshop truly did nothing, how likely is it jump this big just by random luck? Tradition says under 5% earns the label statistically significant. His answer came out to 5.7%, just over the line.
So it is not that the workshop failed. The result is just a little too close to luck to plant a flag.
Right. A result like this is inconclusive, not negative. And there is a specific reason to think the effect is real, even though the test missed. It is called statistical power.
Unpack that.
His analytical sample was 9 responses before and 8 after. That is tiny. When your study is that small, the test can only catch very large effects. A real effect can be sitting right there, and the study is just too small to see it. When a study misses a real effect because it was underpowered, that is a type 2 error.
So he says it was a type 2 error.
No, and this is the careful part. He says the result is consistent with a possible type 2 error. You can suspect one, you can never prove one happened, because you can never know for certain the effect was truly there. So the language is always possible or consistent with, never it definitely was. Given how large and consistent the shift was, a possible type 2 error is the most plausible reading.
Suspect it, do not declare it.
And one more phrasing rule runs through the whole project. Because the surveys were anonymous and unlinked, he cannot say the same people improved, only that the post-workshop respondents scored higher than the pre-workshop respondents. 2 piles of answer sheets, not matched pairs.
Which is exactly what a committee pounces on. Let us do the tough questions. What is the first one?
Number 1. The surveys were anonymous and unlinked, so how do you know the same people improved? The honest answer is he does not claim they did. Nobody's before answers can be matched to their after answers, so he compared 2 groups, not 1 group over time. The defensible finding is that the post-workshop group scored far higher and more consistently than the pre-group. Anonymity was the IRB-approved design that protected participants. The cost was the ability to track individuals. Linking each person's before and after is the obvious next step for a replication. Question 2 is a stats trap. 1 participant scored the maximum, a perfect 50, before the workshop even started. Did you test what that outlier did to your results?
1 person rating themselves perfect on the way in. In a group of 9, that drags everything around.
It is the billionaire in a small room problem. One extreme value wrecks the average. His answer is strong. Yes, he ran a sensitivity analysis, which just means rerunning the numbers with that person removed to see if the answer flips. It does. Take that person out, and the primary result becomes statistically significant, but he kept them in.
Wait, he kept the data point that hurt his result?
On purpose. Removing data to get a prettier answer is bad practice. The p equals 0.057 he reports is the harder, more honest version, and he reported it because it is the correct one.
Great. Question 3.
The tests he ran on the side. He checked whether age or gender was related to the scores. For gender, a Mann-Whitney test. Not significant. U equals 4, P equals 0.39. For age, a Spearman correlation. Also not significant. So neither was associated with the scores, which means the gain was not just some subgroup.
Why is that a landmine?
Because there are 2 different Mann-Whitney results in his manuscript. One is that gender test, U equals 4. A different one, U equals 10.5, is a supportive comparison of the pre and post scores that actually did cross the significance line. Same type of test, completely different question, and he has to never confuse the 2.
So if a committee member says,
Wait, one of your Mann-Whitney tests was significant. Why not lead with that?
He says because that was not my pre-specified primary test. You do not switch your headline test after you see which result looks nicer. The significant one is supportive evidence, and it stays in a supporting role. That is integrity, and committees rewarded.
Question 4. The replication number. He keeps saying a bigger study of 40 to 60 people would probably confirm this. Where does that come from? Is it real, or is it a number he pulled from the air?
It is a real after-the-fact estimate, based on the size of the effect he observed, which was large, but he is careful with the qualifier. It assumes the true effect really is about as big as what he saw, and small studies tend to overestimate effects. That is precisely why his recommendation is replication, not a victory lap. The 40 to 60 is a planning estimate for the next study, not a promise.
And question 5, we already teed it up. Self-efficacy versus confidence.
The trap version is, isn't self-efficacy just confidence with extra syllables? And he says no. Bandura is explicit. Confidence is general. Self-efficacy is task-specific belief in your capability. His instrument measures self-efficacy because every item names one concrete task. When he says confidence in conversation, it is informal shorthand. The measured construct is self-efficacy.
So pull it all the way back. If someone asks what this project is really about, what do you say?
Nurse anesthesia education has a workload problem that is pushing people out. AI is a credible part of the solution, but only if faculty believe they are capable of using it. That belief is self-efficacy, and it predicts adoption. This project shows that after a single structured hands-on hour, the post-workshop respondents reported far higher and far more uniform self-efficacy across every task taught.
And the statistics?
Underpowered, not unpromising. The direction, the size, and the consistency all point the same way. The right next step is an adequately powered replication, not a celebration. If brief workshops like this reliably build self-efficacy, programs get a low-cost, scalable lever for faculty productivity and retention.
And here is the line that stuck with me. We spend so much energy asking whether students are ready for AI. This project flips it.
That is the contribution. A small, rigorous first step toward preparing the educators, not just the students, to use AI well. You cannot ask faculty to guide students through a tool they do not feel capable of using themselves. Start with the teachers.
And the honest way he reports it is the most convincing part. The tidy version would claim significance and overreach. His version says, here is a large, consistent signal. Here is exactly why the small sample kept it from crossing the line. And here is the study that would settle it.
That is what good science sounds like.
Prepare the educators, not just the students. That is the one to remember.